1, 2, check. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We have so much to cover. Of course, the big news from over the weekend, RFK Jr. endorsing former President Donald Trump. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about some of the things we learned at the Democratic National Convention. And we have a couple, we might actually start with New York State issues, as a matter of fact, which has been a little while. Well, we did talk with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano on Friday, but we still may talk about New York State issues because we talked about quite a few with him. First off, let's go through some viewer comments from over the weekend. This came in Friday. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for your takeaways from the DNC. If you didn't tune in last week, Ken was kind enough to watch all 4 days of the convention, stay up that late, and give us his takeaways from the convention. So thank Ken for his takeaways and having the intestinal fortitude to endure 4 days of lies, deception, and misinformation. My head still aches from day one. Yes, Ken did an amazing job, and we thank him for putting in that much time so that we could be informed. All right, other messages. Want to make money for Halloween? Make a laughing Kamala puppet. You could be a millionaire. It would sell. It probably would sell. Love your program. 50% of us want to hear the comments. I would say it's probably more than 50%. Please set 7 a.m. to read them. Oh, okay. Well, I missed that by an hour. But maybe if I remember, I'll read these again at the 7 o'clock hour. Another comment from a different viewer. I had tears of joy over RFK Jr. uniting with Trump. Yeah, it's definitely rocking the political world. By the way, as a side note, did anybody watch ABC's confrontational interview with J.D. Vance? I know they're trying to paint J.D. Vance as, quote, weird. You got to give him credit. He has been in some hostile interviews and does such a good job, keeps his head, keeps his composure. Really impressed, but that was just, again, and I mentioned it a few weeks ago when he made the media rounds on Sunday, that you can just tell the reporter hates him. I mean, there's no denying the media bias when you see that interview with J.D. Vance. There is an anger that person even has to be in the same room as him. It is very, very frustrating. We may get to a little bit of it, but if you watch it, what do you think? Who comes off looking like the bigger person? I mean, J.D. Vance, I thought, did a wonderful job articulating, explaining the Trump position on many items, many issues, and yet that reporter just had to... At a time when the nominee for President of the United States by the Democratic Party does not give an interview. I mean, we're winding short of August. She said one interview in all of August, and here we are on the 26th. But anyway, so when she won't even give an interview, J.D. Vance, kind enough to give interviews to, again, hostile audiences, hostile interviewers, and they don't see the irony in that they attack him while just being totally fine, totally supportive of Harris not helping them with their job, not helping them by giving interviews. And we're going to tie that in with quite a few issues about the honeymoon period that we talk so much about on this program. And I don't always like to do this, but yes, we predicted it. The honeymoon period continues. Oh, the poll numbers are up after the DNC, and the money is just flowing in. And this is probably the greatest campaign in the history of the United States. It's all things we had said and predicted, so no surprise. But yes, I appreciate this viewer's comment. I had tears of joy over RFK Jr. uniting with Trump. Another comment. Make America healthy again is a new Trump campaign slogan. Speaking of that, did you see the DNC was a hotbed of COVID? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first off, some New York State issues. Governor Hochul is going to meet with New York college presidents as they try to avoid more anti-Israel campus chaos. Now, it's interesting because Hochul has tried to, well, she's always a little behind the eight ball on it. If you recall, she said, we're going to look into banning masks. And of course, that was just window dressing. They never actually did anything. And now, meeting with college presidents, again, why are all the decisions, regarding these anti-Israel protests, why are they coming so late in the summer? I mean, I know we're all caught off guard that summer is almost over. I will say that. But it's been kind of fascinating that, the Columbia University president, who was just disastrous from the beginning to the end of the anti-Israel, pro-Hamas protests, she resigns with, less than a month before school's to begin. Now Kathy Hochul going to meet with the campus officials to talk about the anti-Israel chaos. Governor Kathy Hochul will meet virtually with New York college presidents as officials try to prevent more campus chaos after spring anti-Israel protests descended into vandalism and violence. The, quote, super Zoom meeting is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. That's what they call it. So that would actually be probably, yes, today. And will include presidents from both public and private universities across the Empire State to discuss safety plans for the new academic year. And as we had said at the time, that this was going to trickle out into the quote-unquote real world, and that's what we saw at the DNC, even though the media wanted to kind of hide it, not mention it, the protests becoming out of hand at the DNC. But continuing, classes begin this week or after Labor Day for most colleges, and officials are on high alert after previous protests fueled anti-Semitism and had Jewish students on edge, yes, threatening Jewish students' safety, not allowing them in certain parts of campus. What was the university? I can't remember. The one university that had it was a no Jewish entry zone, something like that. Governor Hochul is committed to ensuring every single college student can learn in a safe environment, said her spokesperson, except for the fact that we waited until the very last minute. They didn't add that part. To that end, she is convening public and private college presidents from across New York to discuss their safety plans for the upcoming semester and reiterate that there is no place for hate, bias, or anti-Semitism in New York. The governor's office has developed an interagency plan to address campus safety, which includes representatives from the Executive Chamber, New York State Police, and divisions of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. Now, if you recall, this is kind of tough, though, this issue, because the Columbia president actually received more anger from fellow faculty members and students when she called the police. It wasn't about the anti-Semitism running amok. The part that they got very angry over was the fact that she called the police on some of the students who were, again, involved in this destruction and violence. Hochul directed her team to work with colleges to ensure a safe return to campuses this fall, previously deploying the director of state operations, Catherine Garcia, to meet with school leadership to discuss their action plans. Quote, we want to know your safety plans. What are you doing to get ready to protect your students on campus? Because every student has a right to walk and go to class freely and not be harassed, Hochul said last week. Hochul has yet to release a report she ordered last fall to investigate alleged anti-Semitism at City University of New York campuses. The probe is headed by former top state judge Jonathan Lippman. The ongoing Gaza conflict, sparked after that terrorist attack on October 7th, fueled protests across the country. New York colleges saw clashes on campus with both large pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian student populations. Outside pro-Hamas agitators also infiltrated campus demonstrations. At City College's Harlem campus, anti-Israel criminals caused at least $3 million in damages and the need for extra security funded by taxpayers. So we'll see what this leads to. Again, seems a little bit late to be discussing it as school is about to begin or has already begun in some instances. But Governor Hochul meeting with campus presidents to curb the anti-Israel protests. There's also a couple quick things here about New York. Let me take a short break. After we wrap up the New York State issues, we're going to get right into RFK Jr. Endorsing Trump. That was a big endorsement. I want to hear from you. What did you think? As I said, one viewer. Sorry, it's early. It's early Monday. One viewer saying, "I had tears of joy over RFK Jr. uniting with Trump." What were your thoughts? Does this move the needle? Let me know. All right, we got to take our first break. We're just getting started, and boy, we hit the ground running, so stay with us.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Hustleton's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hustleton's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs, deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hustleton's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hustleton's Hot Spring Saltwater Hot Tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hustleton's.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for people on Medicare. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, and don't have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. You can call now to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Just call 800-351-6177 and a licensed insurance agent can look up your eligibility and plan options and see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Part C plan that could save money or include additional benefits. Don't wait. You are not automatically enrolled in a Part C plan with additional benefits. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, call for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You won't know what plan options are available to you unless you call, so call now. The call is free. Call 800-351-6177. 800-351-6177.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning. We're a little quiet this morning. That's okay. I understand. Wrapping up your summer. Maybe spent some time outdoors. It was a beautiful weekend. Okay, the state, New York State that is, cannabis regulator has made exactly zero progress to increase its staffing levels months after Governor Hochul began tearing the agency apart. Felicia Reed, acting executive director of the Office of Cannabis Management, said in an interview with Spectrum last week that her understaffed agency now employs 180 people. That's the same amount of staffers they employed in April, according to a blistering report Hochul commissioned to point out some failures of the cannabis regulators. Quote, "We're going to prioritize hiring and training new staff capable of strengthening key agency operations, fill senior roles focused on agency operations, customer services, internal controls." Hochul told reporters at a press conference announcing that she called what she called an overhaul of the agency she previously described as a disaster. So it seems like the wild, wild west of legalized pot in New York State continues. The New York Post editorial board asks it this way: what is New York's Office of Cannabis Management smoking? New York's legal pot disaster just keeps on getting more disastrous. The state's Cannabis Control Board, a chief regulatory overseer in the sector, is considering relaxing the ban on legal pot shops, keep that in mind, being closer to each other than 1,000 feet. Governor Hochul was supposed to have cleaned house over at the Office of Cannabis Management, their parent agency, with a desperate needed probe. But judging by this latest brainstorm, OCM is still a dysfunctional madhouse. No shocker, really. The progressive goofballs in charge completely bungled the state's legal weed rollout by favoring former crooks for licenses, which resulted in serious litigation, along with a myriad of other shenanigans. Legal pot shop owners, still just a fraction of all Empire State pot shop owners, the legal ones. As you know, there's many sticker stores, as they're called, illegal ones. Well, the legal pot shops are up in arms. They followed the law and went through an insane process to get the state's stamp of approval on their business. But let's be honest, their concerns are vastly secondary to the main issue, namely that the real reason for a minimum distance rule isn't to help legal stores succeed, but because everyone, including the OCM goofs, no matter how hard they pretend otherwise, knows that any pot shop, legal or otherwise, is a seed for wider neighborhood blight. Very much the case. We've seen it here locally. Continuing, it says weed is bad. It makes you crazy and serves as a gateway drug. And where it's easy to access, social decay follows. Buying from a state-sanctioned vendor has literally zero effect on that, which New York progressive legislators ignored when passing the 2021 law. The bad execution, which resulted in lawsuits by would-be licensed sellers, and the specious pie-in-the-sky hope that somehow legalizing pot would increase equity, were insults added to injury. It's likely impossible to hope for a full repeal of legal weed here, barring a very huge political sea change. But what New York must have is real enforcement against the illegal shops and strict controls on the legal ones. So how about bumping up the distance between legal shops instead of pondering a cut and letting the NYPD and other local law enforcement do their job and get illegal vendors shut down for good? Legal weed isn't helping anyone, and it's been a disaster for the state and the city, as Governor Hochul has admitted. It's time the rest of our pro-weed electors and policymakers admitted it too, and think about correcting course. All right. That was just a couple of quick New York State issues. Now, what did you think? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a major endorsement. Of course, there was rumblings. By Friday, we all knew it was most likely going to happen. That I thought a powerful speech. He did a powerful op-ed. He made the rounds this weekend doing interviews. Much like J.D. Vance, there was a hatred for RFK Jr. He endorsed Trump on Friday. He penned a note on social media to explain what MAGA means to him. Now, we know technically it's Make America Great Again, right? But the left uses it as almost an insult, that you're MAGA. It's been demonized by Democrats. President Joe Biden and his administration constantly attacked what they called the ultra MAGA Republicans, or the extreme MAGA agenda. But this is what Kennedy wrote. As a matter of fact, this weekend on CNN's State of the Union, Senator Cory Booker urged voters to, quote, kill the MAGA strain. So I guess that rhetoric, calming down on the rhetoric after the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, I guess that's just a thing of the past. Never really going to adhere to it. This is what Kennedy wrote. I'm not sure where it was out of. But he said the phrase, meaning MAGA, has troubled liberals who think it's a call for a return to America before civil rights, gay rights, and women's rights. But I have a more generous interpretation, one that is truer to my experience of Donald Trump as he is today. Make America Great Again recalls a nation brimming with vitality, with a can-do spirit, with hope, and a belief in itself. It was an America that was beginning to confront its darker shadows, could acknowledge the injustices in its past and present, yet at the same time could celebrate its successes. It was a nation of broad prosperity, the world's most vibrant middle class, and an idealistic belief, though not consistently applied, in freedom, justice, and democracy. It was a nation that led the world in innovation, productivity, and technology, and it was the healthiest country in the world. I've talked to many Trump supporters. I've talked with his inner circle. I've talked to the man himself. This is the America they want to restore. I thought that was a good definition of MAGA. We're going to tell you, of course, his whole family turning on him. Isn't it amazing to see a media turning on a Kennedy? Democrats turning on a Kennedy? Never thought I would have ever said that statement. We're going to tell you a little bit about what his family's saying. We're not going to focus too much on Kennedy, but it's obviously a major news story from over the weekend now that he'll be kind of a surrogate for the Trump campaign. Could lead to a position in Donald Trump's cabinet if Donald Trump is successful in November. We're going to talk about that. What are your thoughts about the endorsement? Does it sway anybody to vote for Trump? What is your ultimate thought about RFK Jr. getting involved and endorsing Trump? I'd love to hear from you, but we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back. Oh, now, there we go.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
The tradition, the atmosphere, the pageantry, and the passion. It's Big Noon Saturday. Drew Aller and Penn State take on West Virginia.
Watch out!
It's Big Noon Saturday, only on Fox.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We do not have a Steuben Senior Services Fund interview this morning because we have so much to catch up on, just as a heads up. Okay. So as I said, RFK Jr. really, the courage, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, standing on his principles, knowing full well that not only will his family turn on him, his wife, who is a actress, probably worried about her livelihood, and her friend group, she will not be very excited about this either. We're going to talk about what he had to say to Fox News over the weekend about this, what is kind of perceived as a hatred of him by his own family. Because Kerry Kennedy, the daughter of late Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, said on MSNBC this weekend that her brother suspended his independent presidential bid and endorsed Donald Trump is like, quote, setting fire to my father's memory. Wow. All right, this seems like something probably classier if you did it behind closed doors, not on MSNBC. Jen Psaki, who worked for the Biden administration and now a host on MSNBC, said, "Why do you feel so compelled to speak out at this moment?" Which is kind of a weak question. Well, maybe because the endorsement just happened, Saki. But anyway, Kerry Kennedy said, I think this is really the stakes this November couldn't be any higher, which is exactly why my whole family will be fighting so hard to re-elect Kamala Harris and Coach Walz. Oh, they are going with Coach. Even though he was an assistant coach, they're going to keep pushing Coach as if it's his, instead of governor, his title is going to be Coach. Interesting. Who have been champions for the values that my family has fought for years, meaning Harris and Walz. Donald Trump is the polar opposite. He is a threat to the most basic freedoms that are core to who we are as Americans. The right for women to control our bodies, the right to live in communities safe from gun violence, to love who you want to love. And I think if my dad were alive today, the real Robert Kennedy would have detested almost everything that Trump represents. His lying, his selfishness, his rage, his cynicism, hatred, racism, fascist sympathies, deliberate misinformation about vaccines, criminal felony convictions. Dad was an attorney general of the United States. Continuing, I'm quoting exactly from Kerry Kennedy. Quote, his rape of E. Jean Carroll, his contempt for the poor and suffering, for ethnic groups, democracy and healing. For ethics, that's what it says, democracy and healing. His cruel sneering at human rights for suffering people in America and around the world. And there are the causes that was so loved so passionately by the real Robert Kennedy. Wow, so they're going to keep saying the real Robert Kennedy. That's insulting too. So I'm outraged and disgusted by my brother's gaudy and obscene embrace of Donald Trump. And I completely disavow and separate and disassociate myself from Robert Kennedy Jr. and his flagrant and inexplicable effort to desecrate and trample and set fire to my father's memory. Wow, that's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving. All because, so this is an example. Remember, as Obama and so many others talked about unifying and healing this great nation, you see a family literally turn on their brother. Now, I'm not saying of course they can disagree. I would be surprised I was surprised that RFK Jr. supported Trump, let alone any Kennedy. So you can definitely see where, okay, I can see a disagreement, but is that something you maybe keep to behind closed doors and have the conversation with your own brother instead of going to MSNBC? My goodness. Well, he responded to the drama within the Kennedy family and his wife's discomfort after the Trump endorsement. He said, my family is at the center of the Democratic Party. I have members of my family that are working for the Biden administration. Biden has a bust of my father behind him at the Oval Office, and he's been a family friend for many years. My family I understand that they're troubled by my decision. I love my family. I feel like we were raised where we were encouraged to debate each other and debate ferociously and passionately about things and still love each other. They're free to take the position on these issues. There are many, many members of my family working at my campaign and who are supporting me. I think we all need to be able to disagree with each other and still love each other. He also noted that his wife, Cheryl Hines, has not been what you would say totally on board. Hines posted on social media about the decision to withdraw, and Kennedy acknowledged that she was, quote, very uncomfortable with his decision. I'm sure. Well, she wants to work again, and she's in Hollywood, so this is probably not going to go well for her in the future. Kennedy's siblings reiterated their support for Harris in a public letter released shortly after Kennedy's endorsement of Trump, arguing that he had betrayed their family's values. Quote, we want America filled with hope and bound together by a shared vision of a brighter future, a future defined by individual freedom, economic promise, and national pride. We believe in Harris and Walz. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It's a sad ending to a sad story. Oof. Boy, I mean, they're not even pulling any punches. They're going all in. The statement was signed by Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, Courtney Kennedy, Kerry Kennedy, Chris Kennedy, and Rory Kennedy. It was shared by Joe Kennedy III, a grandson of Robert F. Kennedy, who wrote that it was, quote, well said. Now, because he has dropped out of the race after only having it for maybe a month, he will no longer have Secret Service protection. That is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We know the Biden administration had denied him Secret Service protection, even with his history. It wasn't until after the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump, which if you watch the media, you may not be familiar with, may not be something that's on your radar any longer. But yes, the former President Donald Trump, there was an assassination attempt on his life. Well, after that, they gave Robert F. Kennedy, after he'd been running for probably, over a year, finally gave him Secret Service protection. Now that he has suspended his campaign, he will no longer have that protection. Kennedy, who had been seeking Secret Service protection for months and finally had it granted after the assassination attempt against Trump, is now having his protection pulled because he has suspended his presidential campaign, is what law enforcement officials have told the New York Post. On Friday, Kennedy announced he was suspending, although not terminating, his bid for the White House and endorsed President Trump in battleground states. Kennedy is still on the ballot in blue states. Notably, the Secret Service typically protects presidents, vice presidents, their immediate family members, former presidents, former first ladies, children of former presidents, visiting heads of state, and top presidential candidates. If a candidate drops out of a race, the agency usually scales back its protection, but can also terminate it altogether, the New York Post noted. There's something weird about that, really, from the beginning. The denial of Secret Service protection to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay, moving along. Senator Tom Cotton said on ABC's This Week, which ABC is where the interview that was so nasty with J.D. Vance. Did you see that? Did you see the interview with J.D. Vance? And just, you could tell the outright hatred of him and Trump by the media. They no longer hide it. And if you look at the New York Times, they said from the beginning, we don't have to be fair. We don't have to be impartial, because we have to make sure that Trump does not get to the White House again. But anyway, Senator Tom Cotton was on ABC's This Week. And Jonathan Karl asked a question, what do you make of all those Republicans speaking at the Democratic convention? And that was a tactic, and from some of the people I've talked to, it was kind of somewhat successful. They liked the fact that if you're not familiar with the Republican Party, you may have been, what's the word I want to, surprised. Or said, wow, look, the Democrats got Republicans to speak bad about Republicans. If that shocked you or surprised you, you have not been paying attention to Republican politics for very long. It is unfortunately and sadly a typical reaction by many Republicans, more of what is called the Rhino Republicans, Republican in name only, the kind of moderate Republicans, the mavericks like John McCain, and then you've got people like Chris Christie, Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, so many others, this Kissinger, who make a name for themselves, get that attention they just strive for and crave, that attention that maybe they never received. Maybe they weren't popular in school. I don't know what it is. I'm not a psychiatrist, but there's something to be studied there. But there's also the kind of the Joe Scarboroughs of the world who do it for financial reasons, for personal gain, who can run as a conservative Republican, win as a conservative Republican, and then when it's no longer politically expedient for them to be conservative, they just change on a dime and they become, as in the case of Joe Scarborough and many others, very liberal. But I think there's a part of them that really like the attention, the pats on the back, the invites to certain cocktail parties. But what they don't realize, and maybe they do realize, but they don't seem to care, is that the media and those people that love them so much when they're bad-mouthing Republicans will hate them if they get any type of power. I mean, look at Liz Cheney. The things that they said about her father, and yet she still goes to those outlets and badmouths Republicans. Or look at Mitt Romney, who was called horrible things. It was suggested in the media that he wanted one of his employees or caused one of his employees to die of cancer. There was the binders full of women. There was a dog on the car. They just turned on him and hated him, yet he still goes to those outlets and releases op-eds about how bad the Republican Party is. Or if you look at John McCain, God rest his soul, you don't want to talk bad about someone that's passed away, but if you recall, he was loved by the media for being a maverick and always bad-mouthing Republicans. And then when he got the nomination for president, I think it was that first week where they suggested that he had an affair on his wife and just turned on him, and he was caught off guard. I know that's what you call a tangent there, folks, but what do you make of all those Republicans speaking at the Democratic convention? Jonathan Karl asked Tom Cotton. He said, what I make of them is that Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. But that most Americans remember is we had peace and prosperity. Everything has gone to, we'll say, heck under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's a clear contrast we have. This is an unusual presidential election because President Trump has been president before. The American people know what he did. They know that he understands the kind of pain they're suffering for the last 4 years under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I think that's why they're ready to return to Donald Trump and return him back to the White House. In every election, you have some members of one party endorsing a candidate of the other party. That's a very traditional aspect of American politics. I mean, look at what just happened this week. The Democrat Party under Kamala Harris has gone so far to the left that you actually have a Kennedy endorsing a Republican. That's pretty remarkable that the Democratic Party has become so radical under Kamala Harris that a member of the Kennedy family has come out to endorse a Republican. That's a very good point. I don't know if you saw the front page of the New York Post on Saturday, but it was Kennedy endorses a Republican. And yes, at any other time would be shocking. But I think the party has gone, well, I mean, really, and I have a piece here. I don't know if we'll be able to get to it. The Democratic Party has gone so far left that AOC is now kind of an establishment figure, is loved by the establishment, if that tells you something about where the party is headed. But we have to take a short break. Stay with us. Read your comments when we come back. Nope. Wrong one. Sorry. I keep hitting the wrong break.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gorton, 1-800-698-0567.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills and simply toss those old bottles of pills. But thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on and your information is gone. Look, an identity thief can use simple information to get access to your credit card. Then you're responsible for the bills. But ID Police permanently prints a unique encryption graphic that makes it impossible to read through, both on the front and through the back, even if the paper is held up to the light. And it works on all forms of paper, matte or glossy. Paper shredders are slow and always jam. But roll with ID Police and you're in control. Watch again. Here's a bank statement with your name and account number. Now, one easy roll and all your personal information is blocked. Name and address? Blocked. Credit card number? Blocked. Phone, electricity, and gas bill. Now they're all safe to toss in the trash. So relax. Even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. And those applications or pre-approved checks make you vulnerable too. So block it out before you throw it out and thwart any thief with the ID Police. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. That's right, free shipping. This offer is not available on Amazon, but it is available online or on the phone. So call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Take control with ID Police on patrol. Order now.
Call 1-800-731-2964. That's 1-800-731-2964 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-731-2964 now.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Couple comments from viewers. Well, over the weekend, scrolling, something to watch for one of the news commentators, they were talking about RFK. And they claimed that RFK Jr. went to the Democrat Party first, asking about backing the Democrat base, and the Democrat base turned them down. So if that is true, then President Trump was secondary, right? Thank you. Just wondering. That had been reported last week. I think we had mentioned it, that he allegedly, I have no reason to deny it, but I think that's what the Kennedys are also pushing, that he went to Harris first. I'm obviously not privy to those conversations, but it did sound like he reached out to the Harris campaign at some point. Now, whether or not that was to drop out to endorse her, that I don't know. And that's what another viewer said. The Kennedys and media are actually responsible that or saying that he went to Kamala first and got rejected. He tried to work with them and expose her tyrannical things they have been doing. He said that their vision of government was too far from what him, his father, and uncle believe in. The Democrat Party would not be recognizable by old school Democrats. Unrecognizable. Yes, it would be unrecognizable by old school Democrats. Absolutely would be. I mean, if you look at some of the policies of John F. Kennedy Jr., they would have been booed at the DNC. So that's a very good point. Thank you very much. But yes, as far as I'm aware, he did meet with Harris. Now, whether or not that was to drop out to endorse her, I'm not sure. That is what's being reported. Did you see the Foo Fighters, the band, the Foo Fighters? They are denouncing Trump using their song Hero while RFK Jr. is being introduced on stage. What is amazing to me about this, and Foo Fighters don't even really need this, but they have to show their liberal bona fides. They can't have their friends and some other bands not support them because they would be seen as supporting Trump, because they don't. So they had to come out and release a statement. No, we did not let Trump use my Hero to welcome RFK Jr. on stage. But if you ever worked, I worked in radio, but if you've ever worked even at a bar that has a jukebox, you pay ASCAP or BMI rights. And I don't know if Foo Fighters don't realize that as long as the Trump campaign has the BMI license, they can play whatever song they want. And that's why a lot of times you'll see kind of has-been, and I'm not saying that about Foo Fighters, about other bands like has-beens or really kind of never worried, maybe had one song, maybe one hit song or something. They'll come out and denounce it. We demand Trump stop playing our song. I remember the Village People did it for a while. There's a couple others that, kind of one-hit wonders. And they know full well, or at least they should, that they can't stop him from playing it at all. So I just find this interesting that this is always a story every election cycle that band whatever demands Republican stop playing their song. When as long as you pay for the BMI, and I think a lot of times they don't pay for the BMI, and I think Trump was one of the first to do it. And that's why he's been able to play some songs where, let's just say, the artists weren't so keen on it. Now, as we had mentioned before I go to a break, because we are running a little late, as I had mentioned last week, we could see the predictions, or how do I want to word this? We predicted what we would see after the Democratic National Convention, which is the Harris is up in the polls, the honeymoon continues, the everything is just going great for her, and that's exactly what we're seeing, especially over the weekend. So the media very happy to try to skewer and attack J.D. Vance when he's kind enough to give ABC an interview. But again, no real concern that Harris not giving an interview in how many days? It's got to be in over a month at this point. And remember, she said she would try to do an interview. I guess her time is so precious. Try to do an interview before the end of the month. Well, as you know, today's August 26th, so we wait patiently for that August interview. But Harris is leading Trump by now 7 points, according to a poll and according to The Hill. A survey, now remember, this is The Hill. The headline. Let me read the exact headline. Harris leading Trump by 7 points, according to a poll. Do you want to know what this reliable, remarkable poll is? The Fairleigh Dickinson University survey. I know that's my go-to polling location. They found Harris leading Trump with 50% support to 43% nationally, while 7% of respondents said they will vote for someone else. Trump and Harris fare equally well with voters from their party, each having 95% support from their partisans, it says here. Pollsters noted race or gender played a huge role in pushing Harris's lead. When voters are asked to think about race or gender, Harris's lead grows significantly, while support for her and Trump are virtually tied when they're not made to think about it, they said. So you do a poll and then you go, okay, now I want you to think about this issue. That's a weird way of putting this. Anyway, without going into the nitty-gritty of that very reputable, very well-known polling group, Fairleigh Dickinson University is saying that Harris leads Trump by 7 points. Perfect timing coming out off of the DNC and the momentum and the amazing trajectory of the Harris DNC, the National Convention. The big surprise guest wasn't Beyonce. It wasn't Taylor Swift. It was COVID-19, and we're going to talk about it when we come back. I see some comments coming in. Keep those comments coming in. Waves are short. That's okay. It's a Monday morning. I understand. You don't want to wave. I understand. Not a lot of people on the street waving either. I get it. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Hesselsen's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselsen's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs. Deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselsen's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So many comments coming in this morning. We were talking about the Foo Fighters and their song My Hero being played before the rally with RFK Jr. Comment from a viewer: the Pretenders tried to stop Rush Limbaugh from using My City Was Gone as his theme. And as you say, they don't have a say if rights have been paid. Exactly. And Limbaugh working for radio, they had to pay, just like at the old radio gig that I had, you have to pay BMI, ASCAP, and there are even a couple other smaller ones. Otherwise, you can't play certain songs. So you pay those rights. It's very expensive. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but you do have to pay it. And then once you pay it, like the Trump campaign has done, the artists have no say in it. But wasn't it Chrissy Hyde from the Pretenders who said that she abhorred, could not stand Rush Limbaugh, but it didn't bother her that was a theme song because her parents loved him or something like that. So she was okay with it. Another comment from a viewer: I was thinking this weekend, a political party that lies to you about Beyonce will lie to you about anything. That's a very good point. I know I mentioned it quite a bit on Friday, maybe too much. But I really do think that has political implications. I really do think a lot of the spread of the Beyonce's here, I hear she's on the ground, was to get people to tune in. Now, that sounds great, and the ratings were up. But if you are that Beyonce fan or that Taylor Swift fan, but specifically Beyonce because they had come right out, TMZ, and said that she was going to be there could be political implications over that, where you say, wait a minute, they lied to me, and be upset. Because someone watching a political convention just to see their artist perform, probably, this is not a judgment, but probably not the most politically astute person. Probably not someone focusing on politics, more about whatever way the wind blows. And Beyonce's there, okay, you got my vote. But the lying gotta upset some people. Anyway, a couple more waves. Thank you. All right, hey, Ken. Ken's back. I hope you heard it. We started right at this morning with comments. And Ken, you got a big thank you from a viewer. I think I already put it in my stack of papers here, so I'm not. Here it is. Thanks, Ken, for his takeaways and having the intestinal fortitude to endure 4 days of lies, deception, and misinformation. My head still aches from day one. If you're not familiar, if you missed last week, Ken was our official correspondent of the DNC. He watched all 4 days. So, Ken, if you want to keep this title of Frankly Speaking analyst, you don't have to watch these shows that you said that you watched this weekend. Please don't do this to yourself. You have the title. Quit torturing yourself. Anyway, as usual, Ken said, I watched Meet the Press this week with George Stephanopoulos and part of Face the Nation on Sunday morning. Kristen Welker interviewed JD, doing her duty and trying to get him to agree with the lies about Trump voiced at the DNC. Constantly interrupting, correcting his comments to the Democrats' talking points, and telling him because of time they have to move on. How frustrating was that? I was watching, that may have been the one that you speak of. I was watching it. It was so rude, the way that they handled. There's obviously that hate, that anger at J.D. Vance, not letting him answer. And then when he gets to answer and correct her, as you point out here, we're out of time. We got to move on. Abortion. Yes, I find it very frustrating to watch. I did watch it because I think it amazes me to watch J.D. Vance be able to keep his cool, to sit there and just essentially take that kind of hatred. It's very impressive to me. So I watched it. I've got to say, very, very impressed by J.D. Vance. But I'll continue with what Ken had to say. So he couldn't correct her points on Democrat lies. Yes, it's not giving him time, could not speak, interrupting, very frustrating. She also had Pocahontas on, whose nose grew about 2 inches longer and surprisingly was not corrected or interrupted. That's the clear bias. And I was talking about it really early on in the program. But you see that clear bias because one is very polite, relaxed. Oh, I'm here with Elizabeth Warren. Tell us all your talking points. Say whatever you want. But J.D. Vance, confrontational. John Carl interviewed Tom Cotton. He tried to do the same as Welker did with J.D. When Carl told Cotton that the abortion bill that the Republicans voted down didn't include abortion up to the time of birth, Cotton told him, yes, it did. I voted on the bill. You did not. He also had Bernie Sanders on, who was able to push the Pinocchio effect even farther than Pocahontas did. Thank you, Ken. Yeah, listen, I highly recommend everybody go to YouTube or wherever, watch the J.D. Vance interview, because it is going to be frustrating, but it also shows you the bias that we're dealing with in the media, that the Republicans are dealing with in the media, but also how really level-headed and cool, calm, and collected J.D. Vance is. So as I mentioned, the Democratic National Convention did have a surprise guest after all, and it turned out to be COVID-19. Maybe there was a surprise guest at the convention after all, says the New York Post. Multiple attendees at the convention in Chicago last week subsequently tested positive for COVID-19 as health officials worry about infections spiking across the country. When you spend 5 days in Chicago for the DNC and come home with COVID-19, Christopher Wiggins said. Indeed, I arrived at the DNC healthy and hopeful and left very sick and disillusioned, said human rights lawyer Yashim Taib said. Oh man, I brought home so much sweet swag from the DNC. Coffee mugs, stickers, t-shirts, posters, buttons, bags, pins, and COVID, said Fred Wellman. It is not immediately clear how widespread the virus was at the 4-day party gathering in Chicago last week. Tens of thousands of people converged upon the Windy City for the convention. While an exact attendance estimate wasn't readily available, the United Center, where the main speeches took place, has a capacity of about 20,000 people. Ironically, this was the Democrats' first major in-person party convention since 2016 due to the pandemic, forcing their 2020 convention to go virtual. Speaking of COVID, before we take our last break of this hour, did you see Anthony Fauci, the man who we were supposed to trust as every word he said was gospel, is recovering after being hospitalized for West Nile virus? Dr. Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, was hospitalized with a case of West Nile virus and is now recovering at home, a spokesperson said. He's expected to make a full recovery. Wow, that's a weird one. All right, let's take a short break. Keep those comments and keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Now there's a product that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it for you.
Introducing the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your ingredients and walking away and coming back to meals that cook up to 60% faster. No more stirring food. StirMax technology automatically rotates the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise, so it stirs it for you. Powerful enough to even shred food. Then the 7.5 quart pot goes right to the table to serve. With a premium ceramic coating, nothing sticks. And it's dishwasher safe. Now you can try the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. You also get the steamer and rice basket for healthy meals, StirMax serving spoon that snaps in place for easy serving, and $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order all absolutely free. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order now.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on historic Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We have, it's hard to believe, we're wrapping up the first hour. We are moving quickly. I know I mentioned this a lot last week, and I even hit Assemblyman Phil Palmisano up on this. He bought a couple tickets, and we really appreciate that, and that is the Salvation Army of Corning and a celebration of 140 years in Corning. It's coming up on September 8th. It's not just a celebration of our 140 years, but it's a very important benefit for the Salvation Army, a fundraiser, because as I've said numerous times on this program, unfortunately, the kettle campaign was not as successful as in years past. It is still very important for me to note that they are still doing everything that they always do to help our community, help those in need. But it's just more of a struggle because of the lack of funding from the kettle campaign. So if you would like to attend, you can scan that and have it will take you to a place where you can buy tickets. Or again, you can go to Brown's Cigar Store. You can stop by the Salvation Army at 32 Denison Parkway East. Or if I happen to be in the window, knock on the window, I'd be more than happy to sell you one of my tickets. It's going to be great, kind of a barbecue buffet by Billy Spalding and Corning Catering. It's just $15 per person. And one thing I've been saying, if you can't attend, maybe still think about purchasing a ticket and letting me know. I can get it from you and donate it to either the local police or the local firemen and let them grab a quick lunch while they're on duty. That's one thing I know I'm going to do, and some others have said. So if you say, oh, I'm not in town that day or I can't attend that day, well, still think about purchasing a ticket and just saying, either bring it here or bring it to the Salvation Army and say, here, give this to a local group, whatever one you deem, and we will do that. So please, how about the Salvation Army? And attend. And if you attend, stop over. Say hi. I'll be there. I'm not sure what my role is there, but I'm sure I'll be at some booth because I am proudly the chairman of the Salvation Army Board. Okay. As I mentioned, and if you have any questions, please feel free to text, or if you want me to meet up somewhere to get you the tickets, we can do that as well. So there. Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to be doing that a lot, just so you know, until September 8th. We're going to be really pushing this because I know I see the numbers as chairman and all the great work that they do and the numbers, unfortunately, that were down from the kettle campaign. So I really am hoping this will be a huge success, and I'm sure it will be from you and for others who have already purchased tickets. So the Democratic Convention and its energy has put Harris on a hot streak, making Republicans nervous, says The Hill. We're going to talk about that. All this coverage was so predictable after the DNC, and just to say how predictable it was, we commented on it last week, and we're right. The viewers and myself saying what the coverage would be like this week. So what did you think about, while we wrap up this hour, what did you think about RFK Jr.'s endorsement? Did you watch the J.D. Vance interviews? What did you think? Does it show a clear media bias like I believe it does? That hatred and distrust and just anger at him. The interrupting, like Ken had mentioned, so frustrating. And then you see someone like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, hands off, just go ahead, say whatever your talking points are. It goes to show you, and I think we saw it a little bit when it was in that kind of weird window where Biden was being forced out, where it goes to show you Democrats could never handle being a Republican for a day when it comes to the media coverage, because they were actually finally getting some tough questions, some aggressive questions by the media, and they just couldn't handle it. Biden can't handle it. Those being asked about Biden couldn't handle it. Harris just doesn't have to give interviews or get any questions from the media somehow. It's very frustrating to watch, but we are running late. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, hour number 1 in the books, coming up in mere moments. Hour number 2.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now. 844-617-0440.
Oh, better tasting is better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on historic Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. We read some comments at the beginning of the show from viewers that happened over the weekend, but because one viewer had asked that I read them at 7 a.m., I will go back through and read them quickly. Love your program. 50% of us want to hear the comments. Please set 7 a.m. to read them. Good job. Yes, just for future reference, I kind of read them as they go along. These that come out over the weekends, normally at the start of the program at 6 a.m., but I'm not ever withholding comments to save them up for one big scoop. It's just when they come in, and when I come back from a break is normally when I read them. So then, kind of sprinkled in throughout the show. And I would agree, I think it's probably more than 50% that want to hear the comments. I love the comments, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody who sends them. And so many people, just great. As I said last week when we were talking about the DNC, you can go to CNN for their takeaways and these type of things, and their commentators and their pundits over the weekend. We have the best pundits, the best commentators, the best analysts right here on Frankly Speaking, because that's you, members of our community. And that's what this is all about. So thank you. Another comment, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. I had tears of joy over RFK Jr. uniting with Trump. And finally, Make America Healthy Again is the new Trump campaign slogan. I like it. And then we had one comment that happened right at the end of the last hour. My wife and I are pleased that RFK Jr. stood and spoke the truth in his defense of democracy. We are not interested in the idea that our nation's policies and politics be determined by Clooney, Oprah, and their ilk, who are so supportive of a socialist regime. Yeah, this celebrity, throw in Beyonce there too. You saw the polls. We talked about it on the program. Now, no, I don't always agree with polls, but I think there's something to be said that Gen Z could really be persuaded to vote for someone or not vote for someone, according to the poll, based on an endorsement by the likes of Taylor Swift or Beyonce. It's startling. But sadly, in today's age of celebrity, it's not surprising. Now, as I had mentioned, Democratic convention energy, Harris hot streak is making Republicans nervous. Okay, so Kamala Harris has never received a vote to be the presidential nominee for the Democrat Party. We know that. Doesn't that really add more urgency to her giving interviews and talking with the press? so they can keep building her up. They are going to do that. And I hate to say it, I've talked to many Republicans on this program and off the air who see the writing on the wall, see it coming, and I don't know if there's any way to overcome it, which is this nonstop praise and positive media coverage protecting her for the next 2 months. Because they were able to, and even though we were aware of it, they were able to really shield Biden and his mental decline for 3.5 years. So what's 2 months? The energy emerging from the Democratic National Convention and Vice President Harris's hot streak is making Republicans increasingly nervous. Thursday marked the culmination of what was unthinkable just a month ago, a coronation for a new party leader who Democrats are ardently behind. Former President Trump and Republicans, meanwhile, are grappling with the whiplash of going from the predictions of a landslide just a few short weeks ago to surveys showing Harris has shaken up races up and down the ballot and closed the gap with Trump. Anyway, you get it. It's the coverage that we saw, and actually somebody else had said it, and maybe we'll get to it in a little bit, but it's the coverage we saw with Obama originally. But Harris's campaign says it has raised $540 million since launching his presidential bid. The campaign saw a surge of grassroots donations. I like how they say that. So I'd love to hear the definition of grassroots. Remember they used to call, what was it called? Every Town for Gun Safety or something like that. That Michael Bloomberg funded, completely billionaire Michael Bloomberg funded. They said that was a grassroots organization. But anyway, the campaign saw a surge of grassroots donations during last week's DNC, raking in $82 million, according to a memo by campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon. The hour following Harris's speech on the final night of the convention also marked the campaign's best fundraising hour since launch day. Did we not predict all this? It's just so easy to see coming. Trump pollster even predicted a bump in the polls, an extended honeymoon for Harris. A memo from Trump pollster Tony Fabrizio and Travis Tunis, sent out by the Trump campaign, said post-DNC will likely see another small, albeit temporary, bounce for Harris in the public polls. Post-convention bounces are a phenomenon that happens after most party conventions. So don't be surprised to see Harris get a temporary 2 to 3 point bump. He expected a honeymoon period for Harris after she replaced Biden. And that's the problem that I have, though. The honeymoon period can last 2 months with the media protecting her and building her up. The other thing to keep in mind is that while the media is going to focus on the national polls, we need to keep our eye on the ball. That is the polling in our target states. Our goal is to get to 270 electoral college votes, and winning these states is how we do it. He also anticipates a honeymoon for Harris extending, blaming it largely on favorable media coverage of the vice president, which we have been seeing. But now we are entering day 36, where Vice President Harris has refused to reveal policy positions, give news conferences, or interviews. Now, we were told, and we're running short on that she would do at least one interview. Wow, one interview in all of August. The media is fine with this, though. That's what makes this so frustrating. And as to Ken's point and others, J.D. Vance giving great interviews, kind enough to go to these places and do interviews, and they just attack him. He still did a great job. Attack him with no mention of Harris having no problem not giving an interview, getting no pushback. I will say that Bill Maher, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but Bill Maher did actually push back on that over the weekend on his program. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But Vice President Harris has gone 5 weeks refusing to give specifics to voters about her policy positions, holding no news conferences, and sitting for 0 major interviews since becoming the presidential nominee. Harris spoke on Thursday at the DNC, officially accepting the nomination, and has been busy on the campaign trail, but she has failed to face substantive questions since replacing Biden on the ticket last month. Now the party's national convention is wrapped up. Speculation about when Harris will end her media blackout is likely to pick up steam as Americans want to know where she stands on a variety of hot-button issues. Policy shifts on fracking, border security, and private health insurance are among issues that she has been urged to explain in recent weeks. Who's urging it, though? The media seems to be fine with this. They have not put policy positions up on their website, but yet you saw the coverage of the DNC. It was the greatest speeches. She's done such a great job. We know nothing of real substance in reference to Harris's policy positions. During one of her rare and brief press gaggles, Harris insisted on August 9th that she wanted to, quote, get an interview scheduled before the end of the month. But now there's just over a week until the calendar flips to September, and Harris has not announced any sort of interview. She laughed and said, I'm working towards it on Thursday night when Fox News asked if she was ready for a Fox News interview. Among other questions she got Thursday night was, how do you feel tonight? And she said, I feel good. Now on to tomorrow. She said while laughing, how do you feel? Now, there's a typical question for Harris. But you've got a person that never received the vote from her own party to be where she is. That in and of itself deserves more questions, more scrutiny, so that at least her own party knows where she stands, let alone the American people. Another NBC reporter asked how it felt for her to be on the stage. How did it feel? Felt good, Harris said. We've got 75 days to go. That was good. Now we've got to move on. Fox News contributor Joe Concha said you will not see one press conference from her in the next 75 days until election. Yes, because she has that very awkward style that leads to the word salads, as so many people call it. Off the cuff, ad-libbing, she does not do a good job. She gives a good speech when it's telepromptered. And that's not to knock teleprompters, but I think the American people deserve some answers off the cuff. So that's why it'll be interesting if they do the debate on September 10th. The reason I say that is it'll be very easy to Harris to come out and say, you know what, we wanted to debate Trump, but he's changed the rules. Or we're not going to give him that platform because he said whatever on X. And they can really point to anything. Any, quote that he gives on X, they'll say, nope, that's just too far. We can't give him the platform. These softball questions. And I don't need to go through the word salads and the kind of, look, even her speech at the DNC lacks substance. The Wall Street Journal editorial board on Friday wrote that her DNC speech lacks substance. That's a Wall Street Journal, folks. Harris introduced herself to the American public on Thursday, and her presentation was much like this week's Democratic convention. Well-delivered, confident and optimistic, and mostly devoid of policy substance. Whether she can keep this up, unexplained and unexposed for the next 12 weeks, will determine whether she becomes America's 47th president. The Wall Street Journal noted a variety of falsehoods peppered throughout her scripted speech, including misleading attacks on Trump regarding abortion rights, Medicare, and Social Security. Harris attempted to lay out a vision for her presidency, but it was mostly empty platitudes. She will provide opportunity, though she didn't say how. She will solve the housing crisis without saying how, or explaining why there is a crisis on her watch. Yeah, how do you fix these things? If you can fix them, why haven't you done it for the last 3.5 years? Continuing, and she will reduce prices without a repeat of her recent proposal to impose price controls. All right, we got to take a short break. A lot of comments coming in. I'll read those when we come back. Oh, a couple waves, too, I see sprinkled in there. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Need a dumpster? Call Franzie's Disposal. Franzie's Disposal offers dumpster delivery and pickup, perfect for commercial projects, home renovation projects, or construction waste disposal. Serving Schuyler, Chemung, and Steuben counties, we offer 10 and 15-yard roll-off dumpsters with competitive pricing, no contracts, a 9-day rental period, and we deliver in a 30-mile radius. Make construction debris, household demolition, and home cleanup easy. Call Franzie's Disposal today.
Franzie's Disposal, now offering demolition services.
Introduce brand new kitchen appliance that does all the work for you. A hassle-free solution that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it in one pot that you can set, then forget about, and come back to delicious, perfectly prepared meals that cook up to 60% faster without having to do a thing, except enjoy a little extra free time. From the trusted brand Power Excel, there's the StirMax Multi-Cooker, the revolutionary new countertop appliance with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your favorite ingredients and walking away. No more stirring food. StirMax is the one-pot solution that does everything for you. The secret is the unique pot shape and groundbreaking StirMax technology that's automatically programmed to rotate the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise to help prevent jams and food from burning while infusing flavor. Powerful enough to even shred food. With large 7.5 quart capacity and lightweight, attractive design, the entire pan goes right to the table. StirMax features 9 different cooking functions: saute, slow cook, cook stews or soups, keep warm, steam and boil, cook risotto or rice, Plus, the multi-step smart presets, Stir Max or Braise Max, that sears and sautés food before automatically switching to simmer. With premium ceramic coating that's BPA, PFOA, and PTFE free, scratch-proof, and won't ever stick. Then the entire pan goes right into the dishwasher. Now, you can try the PowerXL Stir Max multi-cooker with tempered glass lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. But it gets even better. You also get the entire bonus package absolutely free. You get the steamer and rice basket. For fresh, healthy meals, the Stir Max serving spoon and ladle. It snaps right on top of your Stir Max, plus $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order next business day absolutely free. Plus, every Stir Max comes with a 1-year ironclad VIP protection plan and a 90-day money-back guarantee. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Yes, the media bias is obvious. I really doubt RFK's endorsement will amount to much of anything. I believe that RFK voters will run back to the Democrats. I would tend to agree. I guess it's kind of like the beginning of his campaign that was so shocking that you had the media turning on a Kennedy. I think, to me, that's what makes it so interesting, that now you have a Kennedy endorse a Republican. I don't know if it'll mean much. I mean, it looked as if, and I don't know if I even accept this at face value, but it looked as if some of those voters were Trump voters that were going to Kennedy, or at least that's what was thought. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I'll continue. A different comment from a different viewer. They can't compete with JD, the Marine. He's steadfast. RFK Jr. has been unfairly thrown under the bus, both by the DNC and family, and it's disgraceful. Yes, the things that his family said in the name of just politics is, I don't know, it's disturbing in a way to think that that's how much they are blinded by this partisan politics, that they have to come out and really just attack their own brother in some instances with that vitriol. I don't know. Sometimes you got to take a step away if you feel that way. Also, isn't it funny that millionaires and billionaires tell the hardworking Americans that they should share their wealth? Sorry, I worked my butt off all my life to be able to afford just staying above water. Totally understand. I agree 100%. That's why I don't think, yes, an endorsement by maybe a Beyonce or Taylor Swift would have a very big play for Harris. It would help her a lot. But I also think, and Hillary Clinton's campaign, I think, proves it, when you have all these celebrities, whether the DNC or at rallies, yes, it energizes your base. But at the end of the day, it's really tough for the hardworking men and women, or as Trump calls them, forgotten men and women, to be lectured by the Oprahs or the Clooneys or whoever, while they're just struggling to make do. And then they're being told that, no. I know your grocery bill looks really expensive, but you're wrong. Believe my statistics. Remember, Don Lemon last week interviewing a New Jersey Trump supporter, yes, deep blue New Jersey, and saying, well, I can't afford anything any longer. And Don Lemon has the audacity to say, no, I know you feel that way, but I have stats here that prove you completely different. So can prove you completely wrong. Isn't that, I mean, the audacity sometimes. So yes, being lectured by millionaires and billionaires, and also the media. These people that live in a bubble, like the interview with J.D. Vance yesterday, the hatred that they turn on when J.D. Vance gets there, but having no problem whatsoever that Harris has not given an interview. It's just, to me, and I know I focus too much maybe on this program, but the media has way too much power. It is way too biased. And that's why I frequently mention that bias. But thank you for that comment. Another comment. Hello, Frank. Hello. Simplest breakdown of voters. Democrats are emotionally motivated and all about themselves, while Republicans are logical thinkers and more so about the whole of civilization. Yes, I thought it was interesting. Who was it? Was it Karl Rove who said that Democrats normally fall in love with their candidate, Republicans fall in line? I think there's something to be said there, but he was saying it's a concern because it seems that Democrats have fallen in love and falling in line with Harris. But yes, I do think it's a lot of hype, the support for Harris. Kamala Long writes for the Times of London, and she says, what I saw at the DNC, a pearl-clutching cult of personality. And I don't want to go through this because she actually goes through almost like a diary of what she went through. But to get an idea of what has been achieved at this year's DNC, how a party purges itself of one candidate and installs another in the blink of an eye, you need only look across the hall. It is if a $200 million tornado has blown in, showering 5,000 delegates with new catchphrases, merchandise, watchwords, ideas, emotions, hope, joy, all overnight. While everything else has been clinically erased from memory. Joe Biden, Jill, Hunter, their deranged Secret Service biting dog commander, all long in the witness protection, mention Biden's name and they'll barely respond. And he actually appeared at the convention. It is as ruthless as it is awesome. I asked delegates from California, Georgia, Minnesota if they think Harris can now pull it off. It's her most important speech, the most significant convention in 40 years. All of them scream, yes, she's brilliant, amazing. As for the looks, well, it's convention loopy. Everyone around me is wearing Kamala outfits, pearls, skinny jeans, and Converse. Even the men. It's quite strange to talk to a 6-foot retired web designer named Chuck from Minnesota in pearls, or to see a male delegate from California sporting a straight-up Queen Mother grade choker in Kamala makeup. Anyway, pearl clutching cult of personality. We've got to take another short break. Keep those comments coming in. We're just getting started in hour number 2, and it is going quickly. We're going to talk a little bit more about the DNC, and I definitely want to get to that, what Bill Maher said over the weekend, some others as well. Keep those. Hey, look at those waves coming in. Thank you. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Hesselson Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs. Deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselson today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
Sheldon and Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app. Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Comment from a viewer, Ken, who helped us out so much last week. He says, if Harris is still the Dems candidate at debate time, if she actually attends the debate, she will have already been given the topics that will be covered. And I know people watching right now may say, well, the conspiratorial, and well, if you look at it, Donna Brazile gave Hillary Clinton topics that were going to be discussed when she was about to debate Bernie Sanders, so it's not too far-fetched, is it? And also, they can't have a repeat of what happened to Biden with Harris, meaning they can't have the exposure of Harris with the word salad type of responses. They can't have that. So I think Ken has a point here. We'll continue. We all must remember she is not a free-thinking candidate. Trump is a free-thinking candidate. Harris is a parrot for the Democrat consortium of handlers. Thank you, Ken. Keep those comments coming in. We got a lot of waves coming in as well. I really do appreciate it. Lindsey Graham, and I think Lindsey Graham has a good point here, that the Democratic convention was a hate fest full of insults. Yeah, if you remember Obama giving, 30-minute speech about how bad Trump is and insulting Trump and his supporters, and then after the 30 minutes were up saying, but we have to unify. We have to come together. Graham was asked by Jake Tapper, millions of viewers tuned in, a bit more than tuned into the Republican convention. It was disciplined. It was well produced. It conveyed patriotism and unity. The Harris campaign says it raised an eye-popping $540 million in 35 days. You are as close to Donald Trump as anyone is. What did he see this week? Is this making his campaign nervous at all? Graham said, well, I didn't see what you saw. If you are a Republican, you saw a hate fest. You saw a hate fest full of insults. And Donald Trump said to Barack Obama, you're a nice man, after President Obama insulted and took a jab at President Trump continuously. It was designed to draw him into an exchange of insults. It was light on policy, heavy on insults. So I told President Trump then and now, you're going to win this thing if you focus on policy. Americans are not joyful when they go to the gas station and fill up their car. They're not joyful when they make their mortgage payment. They're not joyful when they go to the grocery store. People are hurting. And this whole joy love fest doesn't exist in the real world. And I would agree with Lindsey Graham, no matter what. Again, going back to what Don Lemon said. Never mind your groceries are up. That's not true. Look at this stat that I have. I mean, it was pathetic. This administration, Harris, continuing, not to give you really any policies or anything like that, but the media totally fine without asking her questions, not having any interviews, not having any press conferences, and lying to you that everything is okay when you see it with your own eyes, when you experience that grocery bill. Rex Smith asks, what's with all this talk of joy? Lately, you can't have missed all the talk of joy if you've been paying attention to the new Democratic presidential campaign. It's unclear if joy was a focused group concept that political consultants calculated might contrast Harris with Trump, or if the notion sort of took hold organically, like Tim Walz's characterization last month of weird. After that, weird briefly became Democrats' favorite word, which is probably a good thing because it's easier to grasp the notion of Trump as weird than as a threat to democracy or an unstable narcissist or an emotionally elderly man, all of which are surely true, but not as deflating as the word weird. It gets right to the point and it's true, but joy is bigger than any of those and maybe more useful. It captures the unexpected delight of Democrats about their ticket and its prospects, certainly, but it also may be an effective guiding principle for the campaign in that it seems both genuine and strategic. Oh my goodness, just the joy. And who said it? Someone I thought had a really good point that it is deja vu. Here it is. Michael Goodwin says, a year into Barack Obama's presidency, Sarah Palin mockingly asked a Tea Party gathering a question, how's that hopey, changey stuff working out? The room full of conservatives howled with laughter because by then, Obama's dreamy campaign motto of hope and change had been replaced by hard policy lurches to the far left. The Palin question is a piece of history 2024 voters should keep in mind as they assess Kamala Harris. The parallels between them are striking. Like Obama, the Democrats' current nominee has been maddeningly elusive about what she will do as president. Yet she is nonetheless riding a wave of enthusiasm that could carry her to the White House. As they did with Obama, big media outlets are helping to promote her candidacy rather than vetting her for voters. Take recent top headlines in the New York Times. On Friday, beside a huge flattering photo of her, the newspaper declared, quote, Harris making history while putting her faith in the art of the possible. On Saturday, the same space that Harris faces challenge, turning joy into votes. A Washington Post opinion piece on Harris's husband carried the headline, Doug Emhoff, modern day sex symbol. This isn't journalism. This is boosterism, and it's disgraceful. For Donald Trump, the consequences are clear. His opponent is hope and change all over again. Or as Palin might put it, he's up against Hopey Changey 2.0. In fact, Harris has been even more vague than Obama was in 2008. He at least had to run in and win numerous primaries against Hillary and couldn't hide from debates, interviews, and press conferences. Harris, on the other hand, struck political gold with a boss-led backroom deal that handed her the nomination without requiring her to win a single delegate on her own. One result is that she's been able to get away with sweeping promises of all the good she will do on day one without revealing crucial details, including price tags, or explaining the fact that she has been in there 3.5 years. Why has she been sitting on these amazing policies that are going to protect us? The credibility problem with this approach are obvious, starting with the fact that she's been vice president for 3.5 years in an unpopular administration. A baseline question is what she would do differently than what she and President Biden did together. If she has better ideas, why wait? Why not persuade Biden to implement them now? As for the more extreme policies she pushed as a senator and as a candidate for president in 2020, such as the ban on fracking and ending private health insurance, they are no longer operative, her aides insist. But efforts to get explanations about why she changed and details about where she stands now has been futile. Harris's one stab at a specific policy was a speech where she promised action on price gouging. When even Democrat economists denounced the idea as destructive price controls, she went silent. Her convention speech was forceful and well delivered, but offered little more than a litany of platitudes, such as promises to, quote, chart a new path forward and, quote, be a president for all Americans. Apparently out of the ideas, but not yet out of time, she added this one, quote, the future is always worth fighting for. And another parallel, Obama parallel, Harris is biracial, and the woke media that protected him is far more woke now and more determined to protect her by declaring it's racist and sexist even to question her readiness. It strikes me that there are only two possible explanations for her continuing refusal to seriously engage on policy plans. Neither offers much hope. Either she doesn't have clear ideas she would pursue, or she does but doesn't want the public to know what they are. Although it's possible she hasn't had time to formulate detailed proposals because she was riding on Biden's tattered coattails, the cynic in me is more inclined to believe the alternative, that she's hiding the ball because her instincts are so far left that exposure would hand the election to Trump. All right. That was Michael Goodwin. I had mentioned this, and I don't want to... Well, going back to the DNC, Miranda Devine says the Democrats put on the fakest show on earth at DNC with Kamala Harris's shameless shtick as a tough-on-crime moderate. 1 minute, Oprah was stealing Trump's refrain about common sense. The next minute, Pete Buttigieg was introducing himself to the crowd by saying, you might recognize me from Fox News. Convention goers wore camo hats, and the entertainment included a country singer from rural Alabama and a sheriff in uniform. Between the USA chants, Harris's talked about God and country, and Tim Stolen Valor Walls, his shtick as a Midwestern conservative, you could have been forgiven for thinking you were at a Trump rally. That's exactly what Harris's gimlet-eyed brain trust of former Obamaites want you to think. By transforming Comrade Kamala into an ideological moderate, a tough-on-crime prosecutor, and national security hawk, they are making a naked bid for swing voters, independents, and the 500,000 Republicans who voted for anyone but Trump in the GOP primaries. I don't want to go through all this. It's a great piece at the New York Post, talking about the media, talking about how they are going to prop Harris up for the next 2 months. The freedom of Harris Walls is the coercion of going along with their big government projects like free college, free childcare, Medicare for all, price fixing, and taxes on non-existent profits to pay for it all. It's the freedom of FBI censorship and CIA lies, of SWAT raids on the homes of pro-life Christians and state spies at Catholic Mass. It's the freedom of Mao and Stalin and of authoritarians everywhere. No dissent is allowed, and the explosion of joy that Harris's ascension has brought forth. The censorship industrial complex will see to that. Otherwise, it's off to the gulag with you. That's Miranda Devine. We got to take a short break. Then we're going to tell you what Bill Maher had to say over the weekend, a little bit from James Carville as well. Hopefully a little bit here about the Trump campaign. Okay, stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Wow. You found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can scan and hack your information without you even knowing. Worse yet, it's bulky and so disorganized. But not anymore, because Slim is in. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash truly protected. And now may be your last chance to get it for a low price. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from scanning your wallet and stealing your info.
Having your information stolen is a nightmare. But with Slim Mint, I know I'm protected.
With money clips, cash can easily fall out. But with the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. Then just press the button to release the lock. Slim Mint is ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to securely fit your additional cards and your extra cash. Even with everything you see here in the Slim Mint, it's still ultra-thin. Bulky wallets are uncomfortable, but the Slim Mint is so compact it fits in any size pocket. Plus, it keeps everything easy to access.
Slim Mint holds everything, from pictures to credit cards, my driver's license. Yeah, it's still so thin.
Say bye-bye to bent cards and damaged magnetic strips. Slim Mint keeps them protected. It's crush-resistant and can really take a beating. Similar wallets sell for over $100. But call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. You still have time to get your very own Slim Mint wallets, but you must act fast. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-655-8103. That's 1-800-655-8103. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-655-8103 now.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. A comment from Ken. As I was punishing myself over the weekend watching Meet the Press, I couldn't help but think about one of the panelists, Donna Brazile. She has come a long way back from a turncoat writing a book on how the Democrats were rigging the 2016 primary for Hillary Clinton to giving Hillary debate questions and now being the steadfast supporter of anything that Democrats say. Yes, she was actually the Democratic chairwoman for some time. Do you remember when Hillary called Donna the water buffalo in an interview? Can you imagine if a Republican said that? Ken, I didn't remember that. So I looked it up. And yes, Hillary went on a tirade after a show that she was on, according to an associate producer of the broadcast, whose email address was the source of the information when something, I guess, got hacked or whatever. She lashed out at everyone. Her entire staff dared not say one thing to her during his alleged tirade. She was alleged by eyewitnesses to call Democrat Party power broker Donna Brazile, quote, a brain-dead water buffalo in a racist rant. She was said to throw a glass of water into the face of one of her aides and then was quoted to saying, if that cuss word wins, meaning Trump, we all hang from nooses. Lars finished, and if I lose, it's all on your heads for screwing this up. Now, I'm not going to remember his name, I don't think. But I had interviewed someone in radio that said her temper, she was kind of known for this kind of anger. And on election night when she lost to Trump, they said that it was uncomfortable to watch how off the rails she got, how unhinged and angry she got when it was reported that Bill Clinton kind of expected it because she was so cocky that she was going to win, that she didn't give any rallies in Wisconsin, and that she just wasn't likable. So he wasn't that surprised. That's who it is. Peter Schweizer, an investigative journalist and author of How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Families and Friends. He was talking about election night and Hillary's angry rant like that. So yes, very interesting. Now, Bill Maher is slamming Kamala Harris. Now, don't be one of those Republicans that when Bill Maher says something that you agree with, jump on the, oh, yeah, Bill Maher's right. You know, he's on our side now. No, he is not. But he has a good point in this instance. And he says that Harris avoiding journalists is much more insulting than Trump's, quote, enemy of the people jab. This was on Real Time with Bill Maher. Maher asked CNN's Caitlin Collins, what do you think about the fact that Kamala doesn't talk to the press? Caitlin says, in a way, I feel like it's more insulting than what Trump does, is what Bill Maher said. Trump says you're the enemy of the people, which is pretty bad. What she's kind of saying is, I don't need you. I'm not talking to you. You don't matter. You're not relevant anymore to me. To me, that's even worse than I hate you. It's like, I don't think about you. Yeah, and I also think it's something that only a Democrat could do, because she takes for granted, and she's right, that the media takes for granted that the media is going to support her and protect her. So it's extra insulting if you're in the media to think, wait a minute, not only is she not giving us interviews, she thinks that she can use us. But you know what the sad thing is? She's probably right. Every indication is she's right. She can use them. And as Bill Maher says, I don't even think about you. You're nothing to me. I don't know if it's worse than denigrating the press on a daily basis, which is what Donald Trump did, said Collins. So Collins, even in this case, has to stick up for Harris. And even though Harris is not helping her do her job, she's going to be a good Democrat. I don't know if it's worse than denigrating the press on a daily basis, which is what Donald Trump did. I covered him in the White House every day as a correspondent. And, you know, oftentimes to kind of, you know, shake you if you're asking him a question, he would try to get into a personal argument with you or just deny or lie about what you were thinking about or were asking about. And so I don't know if I would compare the two. I do think she should talk to the press. I think anyone who wants to have access to the nuclear code should be willing to sit down and take questions. And we want to have her on the show. So no, Trump is still worse. Just to prove their bias yet again. Maher said, hey, I'd love to interview her too, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Yes, it's been over a month. She's not given an interview. And look, CNN's Collins showing and proving exactly what we know, which is the bias, which is, well, I don't think she's as bad as Trump. Trump insults you. Harris is insulting you, as Bill Maher said. Harris is insulting you by saying, I don't need you. I know I can use you, that you are going to protect me no matter what. I don't have to. It's not a one hand washes the other. I am just going to continue to use you. Now, legendary strategist James Carville, the Raging Cajun, said on the Trump polling numbers that they are lulling Democrats into a false sense of security. He was on Bill Maher as well, and he said, I challenge Democrats with some caution here. First of all, most want to say we have to win by 3 in the popular vote to win the Electoral College. So when you see a poll that says we are up 2, well, that actually means we're down 1, if the poll is correct. The other thing is Trump traditionally, when he's on the ballot, chronically underpolls. Yes, because people, unfortunately, don't dare to tell anybody that they support Trump because there's such a hatred for Trump. It can cost you your job, your friendships, your family, your marriage in some instances if you say that you support Trump. So you don't tell anybody, but at voting day, you go and pull that lever. I'll continue. Traditionally, with Trump on the ballot, Democrats say, oh, James, you're a Debbie Downer. I'm not. I'm just telling you, you've got to win by 3, the strategist added. In late August of 2020, national polls predicted that President Biden was up by 9 points over Trump, but he won by just 4.4 percentage points. Perhaps most alarmingly for Democrats, back in 2020, Trump outperformed polling in most battleground states, included by 4.6% ahead of RCP's aggregate in Wisconsin, 3 points in Michigan, and 1.3 points in Pennsylvania. So kind of lulling everybody into maybe having a little bit too much a sense of security, too cocky. We've got to take a short break. Oh, waves coming in right here at the end. We appreciate it. We've got a couple comments. Look at these waves coming in. We've got a few other things that we're going to get to. We're going to jump around in these last couple breaks. Just try to get in as much because I still have a lot of things to get to. So we're going to try to get through as much of it as we possibly can. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
It's time for the world's fastest, most extreme sport, the NHRA on Fox.
We're going to give it every single ounce that we have this weekend.
It's coming down just to the wire. We're all feeling it.
Gone like a shot.
You got to bring it all.
This ain't just racing. The NHRA on Fox.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You're faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning edition of Frankly Speaking. Tim Walz faces another accusation of misrepresentation. This, again, it goes to show you the media's bias because, look, we had that interview from over the weekend when they now call him Coach Walz. That's fine. No pushback about the claims of stolen valor and the like. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz or misrepresentation by his campaign of DWI charge. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is facing another accusation of misrepresenting his background after a Nebraska Chamber of Commerce letter from 2006 resurfaced. When Walz first ran for Congress in Minnesota, he touted on his campaign website that he received an award from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce in 1993 for his work with the business community. He never received such an award, however, which was outlined to him in a blistering letter from the then president of the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, Barry Kennedy. We researched the matter and can confirm that you have not been the recipient of any award from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. In a letter dated November 1st, 2006. I'm not going to draw a conclusion about your intentions by including this line in your biography. However, we respectfully request that you remove any reference to our organization, as it could be considered an endorsement of your candidacy. It should be pointed out, however, that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has endorsed your opponent for his support of small business issues. The letter was unearthed by Minnesota's outlet Alpha News last week after the controversy gained traction locally in 2006. The then campaign manager passed off the issue as a typographical error, the outlet reported. When approached by Fox News about the 2006 controversy, the Harris-Walz campaign said Walz frequently speaks openly and off the cuff. Well, that makes it okay to lie about your background, I understand. Governor Walz speaks the way real people speak, openly and off the cuff. The American people appreciate that Governor Walz tells it like it is and doesn't talk like a politician, and they appreciate the difference between someone who occasionally misspeaks and a pathological liar like Donald Trump. Yeah, but this is a long history with Walz. We know about the National Guard and the like. I don't know. But again, they know that they can use the media. The media is not going to cover this as if this were J.D. Vance. We'll put it that way, because that hatred that J.D. Vance experienced over the weekend doing those interviews, that was just for normal questions. Imagine if he had misrepresented his background as many times as Coach Walz did. Kamala Harris's support for bail fund that freed violent criminals shows how tough on crime she really is. And the New York Post has an amazing expose, if you will, on this bail fund that Kamala promoted. Kamala Harris wants you to believe she's tough on crime because she won a San Francisco election to become district attorney. In California elections to serve as attorney general and actually prosecuted people when that was her whole job. By this logic, Alvin Bragg must be tough on crime too. Far more telling is her support for bailing out the 2020 George Floyd rioters, endorsing a bail fund that put violent repeat offenders back on the streets of Minneapolis. The endorsement helped the Minnesota Freedom Fund raise $40 million, cash it soon used to release accused murderers, rapists, and thieves. In keeping with how Black Lives Matter's nonprofit operate, only a tiny fraction of that went to freeing simple protesters. Kamala Harris's economic policy positions are MIA. Expect more of the same lefty idea, says Charles Gasparino. According to Robin Ellie and David Thomas, two real researchers who have studied the diversity is great for business argument, says the research touting the link was conducted by consulting firms and financial institutions and fails to pass muster when subjected to scholarly scrutiny. So this DEI in the economic policy. I know, I'm running late. We've got a comment here. I'll read it when we come back, because when we come back from break, we are going to wrap things up. It's unbelievable. This Monday morning edition went so quickly. Thank you to everybody who joined us. I know, folks, I've been bringing this up a lot, but it's very important to me, and I hope it's very important to you, and I hope that you're able to make it out. There's the scanning code if you want to buy the tickets to the Benefit Barbecue. Great food from Billy Spalding. It is coming up for the Salvation Army. Salvation Army is celebrating 140 years in Corning. And so this is a celebration, but it's also a fundraiser, which is very important right now as we are struggling with the budget because of the a lack of this year in the kettle campaign. So it's $15 per person. Going to have great food, a ton of silent auctions and bake sale, fun stuff for kids, music. You can get your tickets at the Salvation Army, 32 Denison Parkway East. You could go to our good friends at Brown Cigar Store out here on Market Street. Or if I happen to be in the window, I'd love to sell you one. Or you can buy them online right there. Just scan that code, and we will see you on September 8th. I really look forward to it. Make sure you come over and say hi. Not sure what my responsibilities will be, but I'll be happy to work there in any way that I can help, because this is such an amazing group, an amazing cause, and what a fun way to celebrate 140 years. Now, let's take that short break, and then we'll be back and wrap things up with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance, plus stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor for 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
And we are back, wrapping things up on the Monday morning edition of Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. A comment from a viewer. I want to let you know that I was thoroughly thrilled with Friday's show. Yes, thank you. I thought it was a great show, too. Something with Phil Palmisano joined us. We had so many great comments talking about the DNC, Ken helping us out with his takeaways. So thank you for that. I'm thrilled with every show because I have so much fun. And I was thinking about the fact that Trump said that he wanted to turn New York red, and that Hochul said New York would never go red. Well, if she keeps up all of her stuff, it will turn red. Yep. I hope so. Boy, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Trump warns that Kamala Harris will implement Soviet-style price controls. He said on X, if you think things are expensive now, they will get 100 times worse if Kamala gets 4 years as president. Under her plan, Kamala will implement Soviet-style price controls. She will abolish private health care and make California's ridiculous policies the law of the land, meaning every American will be taxed up to 80% of their income. If you want more cash and less tax, vote Trump. Our former governor, ex-governor David Patterson, believes that the border crisis could sink Harris. This is an area where all Donald Trump needs to do is talk about the border. If he talks about nothing else, maybe the economy a little bit, he can win this election. Democrat Vice President Harris last week promised to, quote, hire thousands of more Border Patrol agents if she is elected, after allowing the agency to hemorrhage thousands of them as the migrant crisis exploded under her watch. Even Bernie Sanders over the weekend said we have a crisis at the border. We got a comment from a viewer that just came in, but they're not going to be able to hear it. Good morning, Frank. We're counting it. I'm out of town in my hotel room, and I cannot tune in to Frankly Speaking. So I made the mistake of watching C-SPAN Washington Journal call-in session. Needless to say, I miss Frankly Speaking. I totally understand. I vowed after working for the House of Representatives, working for Congress, I vowed never to watch C-SPAN again. And I can't say I've adhered to that, but it can get tough at times. Experts warn that the DHS equity push, the DEI initiatives at the DHS, has made the country less safe on literally a road to anarchy. The Department of Homeland Security, under President Biden's Day One Racial Equity Executive Order, identified key programs to advance racial equality in its method of combating terrorists. The equity plan said it would augment efforts to equitably provide communities with the tools and resources they need to prevent terrorism. I'm not going to go through all this. This is why we've got to move fast. Okay. Labor Department's 818,000 vanished jobs that, remember, was denied last week by the Biden administration because Trump said it, but it is true, show the Democrats' empty economic agenda. Bidenomics is working, Kamala Harris and the rest of the administration told Americans for months, abandoning that line only when polls consistently showed it wasn't working, even as their media allies pointed to various economic stats to argue that the public was simply wrong. And now that she's the Democrat nominee, Harris has switched to insisting she'll fix everything, though the details remain beyond sketchy, and she has yet to announce a single break from the Biden policies of the last 3.5 years. And last week brought news that at least one key area, the public was right and the stats were wrong. The Bureau of Labor Statistics revised its counts on jobs added from April 2023 to March of 2024 down by 818,000, the largest downward revision since 2009. That brought the total job estimate of job gains over those 12 months from 2.9 million to 2.1 million, nearly 30%. And when a reporter asked Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo about the grim news, she answered with the characteristic of the Democrats who presided over so much of this economic pain, quote, I don't believe it, because a reporter had asked her to respond to a clip from Donald Trump. That is, one of the top Democrats when it comes to economic policy didn't know about a major piece of economic news and fell back on the orange bad. No wonder the Biden-Harris economy stinks. Democrats and their press cheerleaders have dropped the don't believe your lying eyes or bank accounts line. Instead, they're trying to memory hole the entire Biden presidency as if switching out Joe for Kamala, but offering the exact same economic approach will somehow produce better results. Seriously, accepting the nomination last Thursday, Harris vowed that she would grow our economy and lower the cost of everyday needs like health care and housing and groceries. What's her plan to do this? Another $1.7 trillion in new spending plus $5 trillion in new taxes. The only new policies she's announced are copying the Trump's no tax on tips idea and the J.D. Vance boost to child credit. Oh, man, we are out of time. All right, we're going to move fast here. A report is out that shows the U.S. Navy will have to sideline 17 ships for lack of manpower. According to, I think this was Maureen Dowd, Daffy Donald turning pea green with envy. Okay. Kamala holds the hopes of a lot of people in this country who are praying that she doesn't fall on her face in the next 72 days. She could take heart that she's driving Trump crazy. He is jealous of her looks, her crowd sizes, her star power, her vivacious, bodacious vibes. That's a good start. That's the media we're dealing with, folks. Trump's personal attacks aren't just who he is, they're his strategy, says Stephen Collinson. Trump struggles to keep media spotlight in battle with Harris, says Yahoo News. Now, the Trump campaign itself says that Trump is going to wrap up his strategy in the election, quote, think Trump on steroids. Wow. One advisor predicted that Trump will hold several events each week, if not daily. Think Trump on steroids. It'll be all hands on deck. We are out of time. Oh, Ron Johnson is going after the Secret Service and the FBI for dragging their feet on the Trump assassination probe. The task force is going to visit the Pennsylvania shooting site as Secret Service agents have been put on leave. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you for all the great comments. And please tune in tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking. Only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.